Someone tells you that you did something wrong, or could do something better, or came across differently than you intended. How do you react? Do you listen? Or do you defend? Do you absorb? Or do you dismiss? Do you consider? Or do you attack? Most people defend. Instantly. Automatically. Without even realizing they're doing it. But I didn't mean it that way. That's not what happened. You misunderstood me. Defensiveness. It's the enemy of growth. And the reason most people never develop real self-awareness. Today we're talking about feedback. How to receive it. How to use it. How to grow from it. This is the final piece of the self-awareness puzzle. Because you can't see yourself completely alone. You need others. You need feedback. And learning to receive feedback without defensiveness is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Let me start with why feedback is hard. Why our first reaction is almost always defensive. When someone criticizes you, your brain interprets it as a threat. Not a physical threat. A threat to your self-esteem. Your identity. Your sense of being a good person. And when your brain detects a threat, it activates your stress response. Fight or flight. Fight looks like arguing. Explaining. Justifying. Counterattacking. Flight looks like shutting down. Dismissing. Changing the subject. Walking away. Both are defensive. Both prevent you from actually hearing the feedback. Psychologist Nick Wignall distinguishes between feeling defensive and acting defensive. Feeling defensive is inevitable. Everyone feels it. Acting defensive is a choice. You can feel the surge of emotions. The urge to explain. The desire to prove them wrong. And still choose not to act on it. That choice is the difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck. Here's what most people don't understand. Feedback is not an attack. Even when it's delivered poorly. Even when it feels harsh. Feedback is information. About how you come across. How your behavior affects others. What you might not be seeing about yourself. That information is valuable. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it challenges your self-image. Because here's the truth. Other people see things about you that you can't see. Blind spots. Patterns. Impact. And if you dismiss their observations because they don't match your intentions, you'll never see those blind spots. Remember the fundamental attribution error from earlier in this series? You judge yourself by your intentions. Others judge you by your actions. You meant to be helpful. They experienced you as controlling. You meant to be direct. They experienced you as harsh. The gap between intent and impact. Feedback reveals that gap. And if you can't hear it, you can't close it. So how do you receive feedback without getting defensive? It's a practice. Not a natural response. A practice. Step 1. Pause. When someone gives you feedback, don't react immediately. Take a breath. Notice your body. Your chest tightening. Your jaw clenching. Your heart racing. That's the defensive response activating. Name it. I'm feeling defensive right now. Just labeling the emotion helps regulate it. Remind yourself. This person is giving me information. I don't have to agree. But I can listen. Step 2. Listen. Really listen. Not to respond. Not to defend. Just to understand. What are they actually saying? Not what you think they're saying. What are the actual words? Repeat it back. So what I'm hearing is. This ensures you understood. And shows them you're listening. Don't interrupt. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just listen. Let them finish. Step 3. Separate the message from the delivery. Sometimes people deliver feedback poorly. They're harsh. Blunt. Emotional. That doesn't mean the feedback is invalid. It means they're human. And not skilled at giving criticism. Your job is to extract the useful information. Even if the packaging is bad. They said I'm always late and it's disrespectful. The delivery was harsh. But am I often late? Is that affecting people? Focus on the content. Not the tone. Not the emotion. The actual feedback. Step 4. Assume positive intent. Most feedback, even harsh feedback, comes from people who want you to improve. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to help. Or at least communicate how your behavior affects them. If you assume they're attacking you, you'll respond defensively. If you assume they're trying to help, you'll respond with curiosity. They're giving me this feedback because they care about the work. Or the relationship. Or my growth. That mindset shifts everything. Step 5. Ask questions. Don't just accept or reject the feedback. Explore it. Can you give me a specific example? What would you like to see instead? Have you noticed this pattern other times? Questions show you're taking it seriously. And they help you understand the feedback more deeply. They also give you time to process. Instead of reacting, you're investigating. Step 6. Thank them. Even if you don't agree. Even if it hurts. Thank them for caring enough to tell you. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate you being honest. This is hard. Especially when you're feeling defensive. But it's important. Giving feedback takes courage. Acknowledge that. Appreciate it. Step 7. Take time. You don't have to respond immediately. You don't have to agree or disagree right away. I need some time to think about this. Can we talk more later? This is especially important for big feedback. Or feedback that feels really threatening. Give yourself space. Process. Reflect. Then decide what to do with it. Now let me address something. What if the feedback is wrong? What if they misunderstood? What if it's not fair? That happens. Not all feedback is accurate. Sometimes people project. Or misinterpret. Or have their own biases. But here's the key. Even inaccurate feedback contains useful information. Information about how you're being perceived. Maybe their interpretation is wrong. But why did they interpret it that way? What did you do that led to that perception? You can't control how people interpret your actions. But you can be aware of how you're coming across. If multiple people misunderstand you in the same way, that's not a coincidence. That's a communication issue. So even wrong feedback reveals something about your communication, your impact, your blind spots. Let me tell you about Maya. She's 35. Works in HR. And she got feedback she didn't want to hear. Her manager told her she was intimidating. That people were afraid to bring problems to her. Maya was shocked. Intimidating? She wasn't trying to be intimidating. She was just efficient. Direct. Focused. Her first reaction was defensive. They're too sensitive. I'm just doing my job. They need to toughen up. But she paused. She remembered this framework. She asked herself, what if there's truth here? So she asked questions. Can you give me examples? Who feels this way? What do I do that comes across as intimidating? Her manager explained. Maya didn't make small talk. She got straight to business. Her face was serious. Her tone was curt. She wasn't trying to be intimidating. But her efficiency read as coldness. Her directness felt like impatience. This was hard to hear. Because Maya valued efficiency. She thought she was being respectful of people's time. But the impact was different than the intent. People felt dismissed. Rushed. Like she didn't care. Once Maya understood this, she had a choice. Dismiss it. That's their problem. Or adjust. What can I change? She chose to adjust. Not because the feedback was right. But because she wanted to be effective. And being perceived as unapproachable undermined her effectiveness. She started making small changes. Greeting people. Asking about their weekend. Smiling more. Softening her tone. It felt unnatural at first. Like she was wasting time. But people responded. They opened up. They brought issues sooner. Her impact changed. Not because she became a different person. Because she adjusted how she showed up. That's the power of feedback. It shows you the gap between intent and impact. And gives you the choice to close it. Now let's talk about who to accept feedback from. Because not all feedback is created equal. Feedback from people who know you well. Who want you to succeed. Who have your best interests at heart. That's valuable. Feedback from people who don't know you. Or have an agenda. Or are projecting their own issues. That's less useful. You don't have to accept all feedback equally. But you should consider all feedback thoughtfully. Ask yourself. Does this person have relevant experience? Do they see me regularly? Do they want me to grow? If yes, weight the feedback heavily. If no, consider it but don't let it define you. Also, look for patterns. If one person says something, it might be their perception. If 3 people say it, it's probably true. Especially if 3 different people, in different contexts, say the same thing. That's not coincidence. That's data. Here's another key point. Seek feedback. Don't just wait to receive it. Most people avoid feedback. They don't ask. Because they're afraid of what they'll hear. But self-aware people actively seek it. They want to know. They want to improve. How did I come across in that meeting? What could I have done better? What's one thing I could work on? These questions invite honest feedback. And people are more likely to give it when you ask directly. Create a culture of feedback in your relationships. Make it normal. Expected. Safe. I value your honesty. I want to grow. Please tell me when you see something I should work on. This takes vulnerability. It's scary. But it's how you grow. Let me give you a framework for processing feedback. After you receive it. After you've listened without defending. First, ask yourself. Is there any truth here? Even a grain. Not, is this completely accurate? Just, is there any truth? If yes, that's the part to work with. Ignore the exaggeration. Ignore the emotion. Focus on the kernel of truth. Second, ask yourself. Does this align with other feedback I've received? If this is the first time you're hearing it, note it. But don't overreact. If it's the 5th time, pay attention. Third, ask yourself. Does this feedback serve my goals? If your goal is to be more effective at work, feedback about your communication style matters. If your goal is to have better relationships, feedback about how you come across emotionally matters. If it doesn't serve your goals, you can note it and move on. Fourth, ask yourself. What can I do with this? Useful feedback is actionable. It points to something you can change. If it's vague or general, ask for specificity. You're too negative. What does that mean? When do I do this? What would look different? Fifth, decide. Act or don't act. But decide consciously. Some feedback you'll implement. Some you'll reject. But make it a conscious choice. Not a defensive reaction. Finally, let's talk about what growth through feedback actually looks like. It's not immediate. It's not easy. It's gradual. Uncomfortable. Sometimes painful. You hear feedback that challenges your self-image. You feel defensive. You sit with that discomfort. You consider whether there's truth. You ask questions. You reflect. You decide to try something different. You practice. You adjust. You notice the difference. You get more feedback. You refine. Layer by layer. Conversation by conversation. You become more aware. More effective. More aligned. This is the journey. Not a one-time event. A practice. A way of living. So here's your challenge. Ask for feedback this week. From someone you trust. Someone who sees you regularly. I'm working on self-awareness. What's one thing you think I could improve? Or one way I come across that I might not realize? Then listen. Without defending. Without explaining. Just listen. Thank them. Reflect on it. Decide what to do with it. And notice how hard it is. Notice the urge to defend. Notice the discomfort. Notice the resistance. That discomfort is growth. That's what it feels like to expand self-awareness. This is the final video in our self-awareness series. We've covered a lot. What self-awareness is. Your blind spots. How to observe thoughts. Understanding triggers. Values versus actions. And now feedback. All of these build on each other. They're not separate skills. They're facets of one practice. The practice of knowing yourself. And that practice never ends. You don't master self-awareness. You practice it. Every day. For the rest of your life. But the reward is immense. You stop being controlled by patterns you can't see. You stop reacting automatically. You start choosing consciously. You become someone who can hear hard truths. Someone who can grow. Someone who knows themselves deeply. And that self-knowledge changes everything. Your relationships. Your work. Your sense of peace. Thank you for taking this journey. Thank you for being willing to look. To question. To grow. The world needs more self-aware people. People who can see themselves clearly. Who can receive feedback. Who can change. Be one of those people. Keep practicing. Keep growing. Keep becoming more aware. The journey is worth it. You are worth it. I hope this video brought you something meaningful. If you find it helpful, please like and share it with someone who may need it. Subscribe if you would like to hear more stories like this. Wishing you a calm and peaceful day.